my guy.
Today we are taking notes, and we remember that yesterday we did one problem where we had to write the equation of an exponential. Anybody remember? What does that look like? Y equals? Perfect. That's it. A times b to the x. That's what we have to remember. An exponential is a times b to the x. So, in problem B, this is 2b. I'm on the back of page 24. I have 2 points. So we start with the point that has the 0, and we plug it in for the x and the y. So 1/2 equals a times b to the 0. And then we discussed yesterday, and I told you all you had to remember that anything to the 0 power is always going to be 1. So 1/2 equals a times 1. So 1/2 equals a. Right? Now, my equation then looks like y equals 1/2 b to the x. Remember, this is your form, but you've already figured out that a is 1/2. So now what do we do? Plug in the other one. So 8 equals 1/2 b to the second. Remember, this is x and y. So you are just plugging in x and y. Who is lurking outside the hallway? Are you okay? All right. So now we're going to solve this. So what do we need to do to solve this?
Divide the half.
Well, we could divide by a half, which is the same as multiplying by 2. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2. So 16 equals b squared. And then we'll square root both sides, and b equals 4. Now, actually, b equals plus or minus 4. But in exponent land, b must always be a positive number. So if you are solving for b, it's only going to be the positive option.
If we get a negative, do we just not put the negative?
You won't get a negative. If you get a negative, you are screwed up. It won't ever be negative. It will never be negative. Now, we talked about this yesterday. Do you remember? You're going to be tempted to multiply these. Don't. If you need to put parentheses there to remind yourself, that's fine. Don't multiply those numbers. That's the answer to the problem. Your job was to find the equation. That's the equation. All right, so let's look at the next one. Exactly the same idea, but our points are 0, 6, and 4, 3/8. Okay, so here we go. Step 1. Plug in the point that has a 0. So 6 equals a times b to the 0. But b to the 0th is 1. So a ends up equaling 6. Cole has made an observation. Yes, Cole.
So can you not just every time see that it's 6 in that spot, just know that that's A?
Have you noticed, like look back here, what did our A turn out to be? A half? What did our A turn out to be here? 6. So that's always going to be the case. The initial value is going to be the y-intercept every time. So what Cole is saying is, I'm kind of lazy. I just want to run a 4-minute mile. So I don't have time to figure this out. So I'm just going to, from now on, know that the point with the 0, that's my y-intercept. That's going to be A. If you can remember that, it is absolutely true. If you can't
Every
remember
time.
that, or you think you're gonna mess it up, then you go through this work. It will always work itself out. So now we're at the point y equals 6 times b to the x,
2 over 8 equals 6.
right?
B to the
So
fourth.
now we plug in, so 3/8 equals 6 times b to the 4th. Now we're going to divide both sides by 6. Since this is a fraction, instead of dividing by 6, you might want to multiply by 1/6. Doesn't that accomplish the same thing? But it's a little easier since it's a fraction, because that's going to be 3 over 48. What? You're going to reduce that, exactly, Judah, you're going to reduce that. So it's 1/16. Now, what did you do over here when you had this equation? You square rooted both sides? What are we going to do here? Fourth root both sides. And the fourth root means, what do you take times itself 4 times to get 16? What times what times what times what times itself is 16? 2. You should probably know that. And I'm not going to ask you some weird, crazy one. But you should know that 2 to the 4th is 16. So if 2 to the 4th is 16, when I take the square root of that, b is just going to equal 1/2. It's 1 over 16. So it's going to be 1 over 2. So the answer to the question, y equals, what was A? 6 times 1/2 to the x.
And you said we can do parentheses instead, right?
Yes. Absolutely do parentheses.
And the x is in the parentheses.
Technically, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Technically, it's not. All right, there's one more of these. One more. So I'm not going to use Cole's shortcut, but those of you that are using his shortcut know already that A is going to be what? 10. So you can go right to the point 10 times b to the x. I'm going to go ahead and do the arithmetic just so there's no confusion for anyone, because I hate it when shortcuts cause confusion. So I've shown the work, but just like he predicted, A is 10. So now I'm going to plug in my other one, and I'm not scared by this. It's all going to come out. Don't worry. Mrs. Ford takes care of you. It's going to come out. So how do I start solving that?
Cross cancel. Oh.
I can't cross cancel. It's an equal sign.
You
Divide by 10. But
multiply by
instead of dividing by 10, I might multiply by 1/10. So now over here, I just have b to the 3rd. So I'm going to be cube rooting, right? At some point. Now what am I going to be cube rooting?
827.
This is 80 over 270, which reduces to 8/27.
We're allowed to cross cancel, right?
In this one you can.
Yeah.
So we end up cube rooting both sides. And again, I expect you to know that the cube root of 8 is 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. That's what it means to be a cube, right? And I expect you to know the cube root of 27 is 3. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. This is going to be part no calculator and part calculator. This will be no calculator. You need to know that the cube root of 8 is 2, and the cube root of 27 is 3. And again, cubes just mean times themselves 3 times. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So the cube root of 8 is 2. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So the cube root of 27 is 3. So we write our answer, our final answer. Y equals 10 times 2/3 to the x power. Okay? All right, next. Next time we're together, we're going to have a little quiz. And we will do a practice one. Then the practice quiz will be a problem like this and a problem like we did yesterday, where you had to determine if it was exponential or not, growth or decay, what is the growth or decay. So we'll practice that. If we don't get to it today, we'll practice it tomorrow or next time we're together. All right, now, boys and girls, no calculator. You're going to tell me what these are without a calculator. And you're thinking, what? Now, this is easy. Fractional exponents mean radicals. So my eyeballs see 8 raised to the 1/3 power, but my brain immediately thinks this is the cube root of 8 to the 1st. The cube root of 8 to the 1st power. So what is the cube root of 8? 2. To the 1st power would just be 2. So the answer to the problem is 2. Now what does this one say? 4th root of 16 to the 1st. Your fractional exponent, the denominator tells you the root, the numerator tells you the power. So I say the 4th root of 16, which is 2, to the 1st power, which is 2. So this is 2 to the 1st, which is 2. Now again, if I don't let you have a calculator, and we're going to talk about how to do these on the calculator, but if I don't let you have a calculator, I'm sticking with these very well-known common numbers. I'm not asking you, to know what 18 cubed is. But you need to know what 2 cubed is. 2 cubed is 8. 2 to the 4th is 16. You need to know those. All right, now what does this one say? Remember, the denominator tells you the root. So this is saying the cube root of 8. But now I'm going to square it. So what is the cube root of 8? 2. Squared is 4. So I'm slowing myself down. It's a 2-step problem. Cube root of 8 to the 2nd. So what does this one say?
16 to the
4th root of 16 to the 3rd power. Well,
2.
what's the 4th root of 16? 2. So 2 cubed is 8.
Could you do the same thing as like, if it's like 8 to, like, could you do the cube root of 8 or like 64?
You could. I don't recommend that because it's, like in this case, you'd be doing the 4th root of 16 cubed, and who knows what 16 cubed is. So I always think taking the root first is the easiest way, but it does work the other way too. It's just harder to do in your head. All right, we got a couple more here. 8 to the 4/3, 16 to the 3/2, 9 to the 3/2, and 25 to the 1/2. All right, here we go. Chase, what does this say? When you look at this, your brain thinks what?
I think 8 to the 4/3 power.
Okay, well that's what it says, indeed. What are you thinking though? How are we gonna calculate it? What does this tell me?
To the third.
So it's gonna be the cube root of 8
To the fourth power.
to the 4th power. So Chase, what is the cube root of 8? What'd you say? 2? You're right. So this is 2 to the 4th, which is 2, 2, 2, 2, which is
16.
16. Right on. Perfect. Schlebecker, what's so funny?
I did one wrong.
Okay, you did one wrong. All right, here we go. Jalen, do this one for me. What's this one say?
16, 32.
Yeah, no. How do I do it though? Yes, you're right. That's what it says. How do I do it? So it would be the square root of 16 to the 3rd power. What's the square root of 16, Jalen? 4. So we have 4 cubed. You might not have that memorized, so you might have to figure it out. 4 cubed, 4 squared, you know that, that's 16. So we're gonna take 16 times 4 and we get 64. So 4 cubed is 64. If you don't have that memorized, you can always figure it out easily. All right, Rylan, what's this one say?
2, 9.
So the square root of 9 to the 3rd. What's the square root of 9? 3. 3 cubed means 3 times 3 times 3, which is what? 27. You are exactly right.
Are those always going to be like even?
Yes.
They will, okay.
I said, if I'm not giving you a calculator, I'm going to take care of you, okay? Obviously, if you have a calculator, it doesn't matter. All right, and finally, this one kind of easy. What does this one say, Christina?
Square root of 25.
It says the square root of 25 to the 1st, which is 5. All right, we're going to get through the next section and then we'll go to lunch. Now, what makes this section a little bit different? Now the exponents are negatives, right? So that changes things. Anybody remember how to do? Very good. When they're negative, we flip them. So instead of this being 4 to the negative 2nd, it's 1/4 to the 2nd.
1/4.
1/4, because 4 over 1 becomes the reciprocal. Now, when you square, that means you times by itself, right? So 1/4 times 1/4 is not 1/2. 1/4 times 1/4 is 1/16. Do not go too fast. But what about this guy?
Just 1/5. What's 1/5?
1/5. It's 1/5 to the 1st, which is just 1/5. Remember, negative exponents flip you over. So if you started as 5/1, you're going to become 1/5. Can I multiply these together?
No.
No, we talked about that. No. So I got to do the exponent first. So I'm going to cover that up for a minute. Just forget it's there. And I'm going to deal with this. What does this become? 1/3 to the 2nd power,
1/6.
which is not 1/6, 1/9. Everybody with me? But I got to times it by 2/1. So what's the answer? Straight across multiply. The answer is 2/9.
You can't have a mixed fraction of that? Like you can't just be 2 and 1 9.
No, it's multiply, not add.
Oh, okay.
2 plus 1/9 would be 2 1/9. This is 2 times 1/9. That's 2 over 1 times 1 over 9. This is a multiply problem. Oh my, what about this guy?
Just 4.
When you flip it, he becomes 4 over 1, or 4 to the second power. So the answer to that is 16. We okay? All right, I want you to do E, F, G, and H to your best ability on your own right now. E, F, G, and H. We'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then we'll talk about them. E, F, G, and H in part 4. We just did A, B, C, and D. See if you can get any answers to that. That is so good. I can't tell you how cool that is. What? I think Judah is the king of exponents. All right, as soon as I get attendance taken, we're gonna go over these and,
Go to lunch.
figure out whether I'm as yours or not.
Like the other Skyline Chick-fil-A.
So is Abby on retreat? Is that where she's at? She's just absent.
Yeah, we gotta go
Emma?
Bible too. No, but it's only for seniors though.
Oh, really?
And everyone has different lunches. Seniors, because you can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7, or 8 for lunch.
What if in like Europe?
But you can get 2 breaks per day, so you can have like 1s, and then your next break is like 10, or like 5s. It's like 1s and 5s. Every break, so you can come to school late because you don't have to sign in.
Okay. All right, let's get our answers up here. Who has an answer to number 1? Judah. 27 over 8. That is the answer. Here is why. What does that negative do? Flips. So we have 3 halves to the third. 3 halves to the third means 3 times 3 times 3 over 2 times 2 times 2. That's how we got 27 eighths. Max, you okay?
Yeah, I'm alright.
All right. Who got an answer to this one? 1/10. Because we have 1/2 times 1 over 5. This becomes 1 over 5 because of the negative exponent. Who got an answer to this one? 5 halves. Because we have 1/2 times 5 over 1. That's 5 halves. That negative flips this over.
Can you make it into like a fraction or decimal?
You could. You could. You're not going to have a calculator though, so if you do that, that's, you know, on your own. And who's got an answer to this one?
1 over 81.
1 over 81 because it's 1 over 3 to the 4th, which is 1 over 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. How many got all 4 of those right? Oh, I have a bunch of kings and queens of exponents. That's awesome. We'll continue this when we get back. You're back at 47. 47.
Can we just make
Do
it
not
50?
be late.
Can we just make it 50?
Mm-mm.
I don't know.
47.